What if I told you Lewis Hamilton has just unlocked the secret that could flip the 2025 season on its head, and no one saw it coming? After months of confusion, criticism, and growing doubts, the seven-time world champion has finally figured out how to drive the Ferrari his way. And Bahrain wasn't just a comeback, it was a statement. From brake feel to balance, from setup confusion to overtaking Verstappen on merit, this wasn't luck. It was a veteran recalibrating in real time. And when Hamilton finds clarity, the rest of the grid should start sweating. Stick around, because by the end of this video, you'll understand why Hamilton's breakthrough isn't just a turning point for Ferrari, it's a serious warning shot to the entire paddock. If you're still treating him like a past tense legend, you're not watching close enough. Don't miss this. The championship narrative might have just changed, but first we need to talk about... Let's not sugarcoat it. Red Bull are falling apart, and this time, no one inside the team is pretending otherwise. The RB21 isn't a bit off, it's broken. And in Bahrain, the problems weren't just visible, they were embarrassing. You're watching Paddock Insider, where we don't repeat Paddock PR, we break down what's actually falling apart. And right now, Red Bull are spiraling. Helmut Marko didn't mince his words after Bahrain. When the man who usually defends his team at all costs calls something very alarming, you pay attention. We have a lot of problems: balance, grip, braking. That's not a setup tweak. That's a fundamental failure of design. And if you're still thinking Red Bull are just waiting to turn things around, wake up. These aren't one-offs. They're patterns: inconsistent tire wear, no confidence on corner entry, botched pit stops from a team that once defined efficiency. You're not watching a dip in form, you're watching a free fall. Max qualified 7th, finished 6th, and described his race as everything going wrong. That's not the guy who won 3 consecutive titles. That's a driver watching the foundations crumble around him. Let's break it down. First pit stop, over 4 seconds, a stuck traffic light. Second stop, a slow rear tire. On track, fighting the car more than the field. And who's leading the standings now? Lando Norris. Let that sink in. As soon as the checkered flag dropped, a closed-door meeting happened. Horner, Washa, Monahan, Marko, all in damage control mode. This wasn't a debrief, it was an intervention. The car isn't the fastest, and the pit stops aren't working. That is not acceptable. That's not analysis. That's desperation. And it's exactly what happens when a team built on control suddenly has none. Remember all that hype about Red Bull building the next unstoppable machine? Scrap it. The RB21 looks more like a throwback to their worst years. Twitchy, unpredictable, and slow where it matters most. Marko didn't even bother pretending this is fixable in the short term. With this performance, we won't win a championship. He's not wrong, because the field's caught up, and McLaren have pulled ahead. Red Bull, 80 points behind in the constructors. That's not a gap, it's a warning. Let's be blunt. Lewis Hamilton has cracked it. After months of question marks, growing pains, and near misses, the 7-time world champion has finally figured out what makes this Ferrari tick. And it's not just a breakthrough, it's a warning. Saturday was rough. 9th on the grid, a visibly disappointed Hamilton, and a team radio that sounded more like a mea culpa than a debrief. But Sunday, that was vintage Lewis. A charge to 5 pesos, clean, clinical, no chaos required. Let's not forget, Leclerc started P2, finished just 1 place ahead. That's not just recovery, that's real progress. And it didn't come from luck, it came from work. If you think all brakes are created equal, you've never touched an F1 car. Hamilton spent over a decade with Carbone industry. Now, he's on Brembos, and that one change, it's huge. We're not talking about bolt-on parts, we're talking about instinct, timing, feel, when to trail off, when to commit. It's the language between driver and machine. And Lewis? He's been forced to learn a new dialect at 39. That's not just adaptation, that's reinvention. Hamilton admitted it. He's been overcomplicating things, chasing setup changes, trying to force a feel that wasn't coming, until now. I think I've figured out how this car likes to be driven. That quote isn't just an insight, it's a shift, a gear change. No more excuses, no more searching. Just cold, calculated execution from here on out. While Leclerc got swallowed off the line, Hamilton kept his cool. Picked off Sainz, undercut by Tsunoda, retook the place within 2 laps, passed Verstappen on merit. That's not just racecraft. That's recalibration in real time. The difference between midfield and podiums now? It's millimeters. And Hamilton is starting to close the gap, not just in the car, but in his head. Fred Vasseur wasn't subtle. We'll develop the car around Lewis, but he has to do his part. And guess what? He is. This isn't about coddling a star. This is about building something cohesive. Ferrari is putting the tools in place. Hamilton is sharpening them. The result? A red car that's starting to look very, very threatening. Let's not get romantic. This isn't some feel-good comeback story. This is Hamilton playing a long game and finally seeing the pieces come together. In a grid this tight, the moment he nails qualifying, it's over. Let's stop pretending Saturday didn't sting. Lewis Hamilton wasn't just off the pace, he was off his game. P9 on the grid, visibly gutted, and his radio message sounded more like a man in confession than a 7-time world champion. But here's the twist. That moment of failure might be exactly what Ferrari needed. Ferrari boss Fred Vasseur didn't hold back. He didn't come with sympathy. He came with accountability. And in F1, that's rare. After that tough Saturday, Fred admitted he had to give Hamilton a push. Not a pep talk. A push, because let's face it, if a driver shrugs off 9 pesos, that's a problem. But Hamilton didn't. He apologized. He was angry. He was embarrassed. And Vasseur, he loved that. I like that he was down, Fred said, because only someone who gives a damn reacts like that. And if you're still wondering whether Lewis is truly locked in with Ferrari, there's your answer. Let's get real. Switching teams at this level isn't like changing kit colors. It's a complete reset. Different culture, different car, different systems. Hamilton isn't just adapting to a new team. He's unlearning everything that made him a Mercedes machine. We'll build the car around him, but he has to adapt too, Vasseur told the media. Translation. This is a partnership, not a handout. And if Bahrain was anything to go by, Hamilton's holding up his end of the deal. You want to know how brutal this era is? Hamilton was matching Leclerc all weekend. Literally, session for session. Then cue 3 hits. First lap, deleted. Second lap, tiny mistake. The result, P9, 6 places down. That's the reality. This isn't 2017. There's no room for recovery laps. The grid isn't built on averages, said Vasseur. It's built on the last lap. And Hamilton paid for it, not with excuses, but with ownership. That's what makes him different. There were no fireworks, no screaming on the radio, just Hamilton doing what he does best, carving through the field like a scalpel. Sainz, gone. Tsunoda, gone. Verstappen? Yup, him too. It wasn't just a good race, it was a warning shot. He was in strong shape, said Vasseur, and that wasn't relief, it was quiet satisfaction. Ferrari isn't in chaos mode anymore. There's no panic, no knee-jerk press statements, just cold, methodical work behind the scenes. They're building by hundreds, not by headlines. We're Latin. Highs and lows come with the territory, said Fred. But this version of Ferrari, it's learning to breathe, to pace itself. And Hamilton? He's not here for drama. He's here to win. The long way if needed. Let's not tiptoe around it. Red Bull's dominance is cracking and fast. Bahrain didn't just highlight performance flaws, it exposed a deeper, more dangerous reality. A once unbreakable team now looks uncertain, fractured, and alarmingly unprepared for the fight ahead. In 2024, Bahrain was a statement. Verstappen led every lap, Grand Slalom, total control. Fast forward 1 year, same place, and he's being lapped metaphorically by Oscar Piastri, finishing over half a minute down. That's not a slump. That's a collapse. And the scariest part? Red Bull have no clear explanation. Adrian Newey left. So did Rob Marshall. Jonathan Wheatley too. And what's left? A team of highly skilled people who suddenly look out of their depth. Paul Monahan, Pierre Wache, Enrico Balbo. Talented, absolutely. But they're stuck using outdated wind tunnel data and simulation tools that don't match reality. It's like telling the time on two different watches, Horner admitted. In other words, they're building blind. The RB21 isn't just hard to drive, it's based on misinformation. Max Verstappen isn't lashing out. He's not slamming the team. What he's doing is far worse. He's checking out emotionally. I'm not a title contender. I'm just taking part. McLaren aren't even my rivals right now. That's a driver speaking like he's already weighing his exit strategy. And if you think that's just heat-of-the-moment talk, his manager, Raymond Vermeulen, reportedly let loose behind the scenes after Bahrain, and everyone felt it. Verstappen's P6 wasn't bad driving. It was damage limitation. He lost time in the pits. He had no balance. He was fighting the car every lap. Meanwhile, Tsunoda scored points, and no one cared. Why? Because when the lead car is directionless, the entire team looks exposed. And when Horner, Marko, Waka, and Monahan vanish into a private post-race meeting before anyone can say a word, you know it's not just about fixing brake balance. There are upgrades coming. Imola is circled in red on the calendar. But let's be honest, this is a car built on outdated data, with concept flaws baked into its DNA. Red Bull don't need tweaks, they need a reset. And you can't afford resets in an era of budget caps and looming regulation overhauls. As Horner said, we know what the problem is. Implementing the solution is the hard part. There's a clause in Max's deal. Everyone knows it. If Red Bull aren't delivering by the summer break, he can walk. And this year, it doesn't sound like an empty clause. Mercedes want him. Ferrari are building with Hamilton. Aston Martin may have Newey on the way. If Red Bull can't prove they're still the future, then why would Max stay? This is no longer about loyalty. It's about ambition. Like this video if you think Verstappen is already planning his next move. Comment below, is this just a dip, or has Red Bull lost its grip for good? Subscribe to Paddock Insider, because while others polish the image, we reveal the cracks. Paddock Insider, for fans who prefer the truth over the team line.